It's time to get back to scouting future Dallas Cowboys here at Cowboys First. As the editor-in-chief of the College Football America Yearbook, I find myself on the sidelines of major college football games practically every weekend. So I get to see players that could be helpful to the Cowboys up close. For the next few months I'm going to put that work to good use and try and profile some of these players. I'm not a scout and I don't pretend to be. I'm not a well-schooled personnel guy like Brian Broaddus at 105.3 The Fan. I'm going to tell you what I saw that day and where I think the player could be useful. This weekend I'm going to look at a player who the Cowboys visited with at the NFL Scouting Combine this weekend. Dalton Risner, 6'4" 1/2", 312 pounds, Kansas State. I've covered the Big 12 for HeartlandCollegeSports.com for the past 2 seasons. During that time I've seen a lot of Risner, who had an official visit with the Dallas Cowboys during the NFL Scouting Combine. I've even had the chance to interview Risner at the last 2 Big 12 Media Days. So I'm going to spend a little less time breaking down film this time and talk more about how, overall, Risner's makeup as a player and person makes him someone Cowboys fans should track. During my time covering the conference I've seen Risner play right tackle. That is probably his natural position. Now, right tackles are not as highly regarded as left tackles, usually because right-handed quarterbacks have that side of the field in their vision, and the elite pass rushers usually come off the right edge of the defense, which means they're facing off with the left tackle. But one shouldn't confuse the fact that Risner doesn't play an elite position with him not being an elite player. He absolutely is at his position. The accolades say it all: a 2-time first-team All-American and a 3-time All-Big 12 first-team selection. He's not only played at a high level in college for multiple years, he's done it for 4 years in a power conference. After his redshirt season, Risner was a starter from day one. He started at least 12 games in each of 4 collegiate seasons. In 2018, despite the fact that Kansas State was under -.500, he led the way for the Big 12's rushing champion, Alex Barnes. The day that I saw him play against Texas last season, he didn't give up much in pass protection and was the primary road grader for the run game. The sledding was pretty tough against the Texas defense that day. But since the regular season ended, Risner's stock appears to be going up. He put on a show at the Senior Bowl, where scouts got an eyeful of his physical play and versatility. Versatility is something we haven't talked about yet. Risner made his bones as a right tackle, but as a redshirt freshman Risner was actually a center, and a freshman All-America center at that. He only moved to right tackle out of necessity his sophomore year after injuries forced the Wildcats to move him. So Risner is being scouted as a right tackle, but teams are keeping an open mind about his ability to play inside, and that versatility will be of interest to the Cowboys and other NFL teams. Yes, the Cowboys drafted Texas offensive guard Connor Williams last season, and many still see him as a starter eventually. But the Cowboys have La'el Collins on the outside and he's entering a walk year contractually speaking. Scandal enveloped Collins during draft week of 2015, scandal that was eventually shown to have nothing to do with Collins. But damage caused him to fall out of the draft and become an undrafted free agent. Otherwise Collins would have been a first-round pick, and with 5 years in the league Collins will probably want to test the market and get paid like one. Plus, while the Cowboys expect All-Pro center Travis Frederick to return, the player that assumed his role in 2018, Joe Looney, is entering the final year of his contract. So what if the Cowboys lose both Collins and Looney after the 2019 season? First, that's completely possible. Second, Risner is a player who could challenge for action at right tackle, could back up Frederick at center, and has the skill to back up or play at either guard position. That's the sort of versatility the Cowboys absolutely love out of their offensive linemen, since they usually only dress 7 or 8 per game. Then, in 2020, he could challenge to be the starting right tackle. But, as much as his play, there's the locker room aspect. Risner, during my 2 years covering the league, is one of the most respected players in the conference. A captain at K-State, Risner was a Campbell Trophy finalist, which is considered the academic Heisman Trophy in college football, and a finalist for the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year award. The Cowboys have a solid locker room right now, and bringing in a player like Risner makes him a terrific fit. Personally, I believe Risner is capable of being a first-round pick. I think he's that high quality of player. Pro Football Focus considers Risner to be a top 5 prospect at the offensive line. NFL.com analyst Lance Zierlein considers Risner to be an instant starter in the NFL. Zierlein compared Risner's quality and consistency to former K-State offensive lineman Cody Whitehair, who is now Chicago's starting center. Risner's combine numbers are going to keep him on the top of scouts' minds: a 5.30 40-meter dash, 23 reps on bench press, 28.5 inches on the vertical jump, 110 inches on the board jump, 7.69 seconds on the three-cone drill, and a 4.52-second 20-yard shuttle. Dalton Risner as the Rabbit has been my favorite part of the combine. Kazora, March 1, 2019. The consensus among scouts at the combine was that while Risner's times were probably a bit below average for an offensive lineman, his strength and agility results were above average. I'll trade a little speed for a little strength in the trenches. Besides, I've seen Risner pull from the right tackle spot to run the sweep to the other side. I think he has the quickness to keep up. All of this is to say that Risner really shouldn't be on the board when the Cowboys pick in the second round. So why might he be? He plays a right tackle position that NFL teams don't value as much as left tackle. His versatility might lead some teams to believe he's a jack of all trades and master of none, which I actually see as a positive and not a negative. The scouting process is brutal and it's built to break players down, not build them up. Plus, offensive line isn't a sexy position in the NFL sense, but you can't get much done if your offensive line is terrible. And, other players at other positions are going to see bumps in their values along the way. All that leads me to believe that Risner is going to be one of those players who should be valued as a first-round pick but will probably fall into the second round because, after all, there are only 32 first-round picks. So from there, on day 2, it's a matter of whether he falls far enough to get on the Cowboys' radar. And, should Risner fall that far, keeping him in mind as a potential replacement for Collins in 2020 should be a no-brainer. I think the Cowboys' visit with Risner was a due diligence visit, one designed to make sure they have everything they need to know in case he does fall in April. Risner is a great player. I see him as a Pro Bowl caliber player by year 3, if not sooner. If he's there in round 2, the Cowboys should pounce. Previous Scouting Cowboys pieces. Here are my previous scouting pieces on Texas defensive lineman Charles Omenihu. My next. This time it's I explain in my most recent First and 10 piece at 247 Sports at Fish Sports at Alan Bell 247. Out of this spot right after my scouting piece. One of the Cowboys' true GOATs who stunned just about everyone by returning to the Dallas Cowboys as a player on Thursday. The fire. I really didn't expect Witten to come back. I get the logic. A year away, he's seen the Cowboys get closer to the brass ring he wants, a Super Bowl ring. The year away has probably allowed his body to heal up after 15 years in the trenches. From the standpoint of what the Cowboys have at the position, let's be honest, he's an immediate upgrade. Yes, Blake Jarwin made some strides at the end of last season. But Witten walks in and becomes the starter because he's a better player than Jarwin, or any other tight end on the roster, right now. Now, is it selfish? I would agree with that statement, too. And I hate that came out of the keyboard, but it's true on some level. Witten, selfishly, wants a Super Bowl ring and he's coming back to get one in Dallas. Our Mike Fisher outlined 3 reasons why Witten would come back. But only the first is truly valid, the fire in the belly to try and win a ring. He was going to be on Monday Night Football regardless of his performance last season, and it wasn't good, but the whole crew never gelled, honestly. The Cowboys could have gotten by without Witten next season, either with what they have or by luring a free agent like the oft-injured Tyler Eifert. This is about the ring. That's all that has really mattered to Witten. And this is his last chance. Okay, now back to Earl. The NFL Scouting Combine is this weekend in Indianapolis. But that isn't stopping the Cowboys from talking to Earl Thomas. Okay, not exactly to Thomas. Reports are screwing up the semantics of this. We talked to all the agents and all the teams while at the Combine. 1. Trust me, this happens all the time. I've been to the Combine. The lobby is filled with coaches, general managers and agents. If you don't think they talk to one another in the lobby about stuff, well, you're naive. There are rules of engagement at this time of year. Teams aren't allowed to talk to impending free agents for other teams. Teams aren't allowed to make offers to impending free agents from other teams, or to their agents. But what teams and agents can do is gauge interest in a particular player that's about to hit free agency during casual conversation. Because teams and agents don't want to waste time if there's no interest on one side or the other. So that's what the Cowboys' conversation with Thomas's agent may have been about at the Combine. Just a little fact-finding, as Mike Fisher's source put it. Nothing wrong with that, especially if it leads to what the Cowboys and Cowboys fans seem to want, Thomas in a Cowboys uniform. At least one of Thomas's former teammates believes the Cowboys are the leader in the clubhouse. Report, Richard Sherman says if offers are even, Earl Thomas will choose suspension central. So the Dallas Cowboys haven't exactly had much luck with player suspensions the past 6 years. Cowboys have had at least one prominent defensive player suspended to begin the season for 6 years in a row now. 2014, Orlando Scandrick. 2015, Greg Hardy, Rolando McClain. 2016, DeMarcus Lawrence. 2017, David Irving. 2018, David Irving. 2019, Randy Gregory, R.J. Ochoa, Ochoa, February 26, 2019, and that was before the news that David Irving was facing suspension. But if you've been following our Mike Fisher, then you've known this was an inevitability. David Irving's status is not a new revelation. He missed multiple drug tests while in the NFL, may not even take action unless a team attempts to sign him. pic.twitter.com/whitei7qdpmmg, Mike Fisher, @FishSports, February 26, 2019. So when I saw someone say, why isn't Fish breaking this? Well, guess what, dude? He broke it a month ago. Smart Cowboys fans knew this was coming. Meanwhile, Randy Gregory's suspension was a little more unexpected, as Fish explains. Exclusive, the short leash that got. But they're not done with Gregory. Why? Well, Gregory has done everything the Cowboys have asked of him, and even though he fell short, that's more than Irving has done in the past few months. Best Coast Boys podcast. In the latest episode of the Best Coast Boys podcast, hosts Landon McCool and John Owning dive into the latest Dallas Cowboys news, including the return of Jason Witten and Randy Gregory's indefinite suspension, while also previewing the NFL Scouting Combine. After the pleasantries, Landon and John dive into the news of ESPN broadcaster and iconic tight end Jason Witten returning from retirement. For what we call the 3 reasons that motivated his return. Listen to more here. At Best Coast Boys. With the help of Bobby Belt, the piece outlines how the Cowboys could give Prescott a top 5 salary and do it in a way in which there are ways to escape the deal should Prescott's play not measure up, or if a better option comes along. No, not Tony Romo. Give it a read. Dak Prescott's next contract, top 5 NFL salary asterisk, but with. Just embrace it. It's happening, whether it's this offseason or next offseason, when it would be a new deal as opposed to an extension. More combine stuff. The Cowboys love to talk at the NFL Scouting Combine, and not just agents. They like talking to the media too. So the Cowboys' Stephen Jones did some time with the Dallas-based media earlier in the week and talked about finding ways to get their young stars, namely Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott and DeMarcus Lawrence, signed to long-term deals. Jones made it sound like those three players weren't going anywhere. You at Dallas Cowboys, let's get the full band back together. Y'all need a backup tape? Pic.twitter.com/Ubes4, Martellus Bennett, at MartySourceRex, February 28, 2019. Didn't they not get along or something? Tweet of the week. Let's see who Earl Thomas is following. Could ET be coming to the Cowboys, or is he joining the Clarissa Explains It All reboot? Pic.twitter.com/3p809p. Question mark, 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 question mark. Trademark. At Tommy's Ledge, February 26, 2019. I'd personally like to know more about the Clarissa Explains It All reboot, please. The last word. Speaking of. Pic.twitter.com/VSWKXT6Jab, Mike Fisher, at Fish Sports, February 26, 2019. New contract talk with food metaphor? Sure. At Fish Sports.